The Name of the Game is presented by Bravo, the marketing arm of Ash Brokerage Corporation, the practice enhancement company.
Welcome to Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. Hi everyone, I'm your host, Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money gamer extraordinaire. The mortality revolution is on as medical advances, dietary changes, and exercise are extending life expectancy. Now your health can impact your wealth. On today's show, we're featuring some of the state-of-the-art thinking on healthy lifestyles, facing medical challenges, and quitting tobacco products. We're living longer and the price tag for coverage has dropped. And on today, our nationally recognized life insurance underwriters, Joe Breda and Charlie Kuhn. Over half of Americans who have life insurance are in the wrong rate class, and it's costing them real money. In the G segment, it's game on as we talk about the steep discounts for healthy Americans. In the A segment, we're talking about the impact of quitting tobacco on your health and your wallet. In the M segment, we're talking to our money mentor, Joe Breda, about matching health conditions with the right company. And in the E segment, can two really live cheaper than one? We'll talk about two lives on one policy. Well, welcome to the show, Charlie.
Welcome, thank
Joe.
you.
Good to be here.
Everybody, we're always trying to find out ways to save money. I don't know about you, but I'm on the hunt all the time looking for bargains, coupon, and everything that I'm into. I'm just trying to save money. And in our consumer society, they're looking for different ways to save. I mean, Obamacare just came out. Everybody's looking at what plan is going to be the cheapest plan for the greatest coverage. But I think people are neglecting an area where we have found to be really true is, what if I'm really healthy and I'm really working out and I have really good exams and I've been really watching myself and really taking a real good hard look at everything that I'm doing physically? I've noticed that there could be a huge savings on different insurance products, and the one we're going to talk about today is life insurance. Now, I'm kind of shocked. I thought either you're a smoker or you're a non-smoker. But no, that's not true. The companies now are actually giving you different levels of classification based on how healthy your blood and urine numbers are and how you are, and they give healthy credits. Talk a little bit about what can I know I can save quite a bit if I really want to do this right. For our healthy Americans that are out there today, what can I do? Because I could trim off maybe 20% of my actual premium charges on life insurance and get that down lower.
Well, what we look at is your height and weight, your cholesterol, your build, your exercise habits, are you going to the doctor, and the more favorable those numbers are, you can get up to your best preferred rates.
Now, if I'm I'm on a good diet and I'm working out, are those credits I can use on my behalf?
That's information we can use to get you a better outcome for sure.
And there's so many carriers that understand this. So we have not just one carrier, 5 carriers. We're looking at maybe 50, 60 carriers, life insurance companies that are going to be able to look at this. Now, I'm thinking about a person. I have a neighbor that's really a great person. She's 52. She's walking that mountain every morning. She's walking her dog at night. Nothing goes past her mouth but the good food. She's great. She knows exactly how to eat. She's always working out, and she doesn't take any medications or anything else. I've noticed a propensity among people that are like that they could get this ranking called, it's news to me, called super preferred. Talk a little bit about the top class. I thought that was just for nuns in a convent. What is that classification for?
It's for your healthiest of all people. It's the people without the impairments, the people that are doing the exercising, the people that do not have the family history, and they're just living a good, healthy life.
So they're rewarding you. I mean, I want to save money. We're going to be talking in the second segment about how smokers can save money, but we're talking about people, I'm already past that. I'm not smoking. I'm really watching my health. When I look at that, what is an underwriter looking at for me to get one of the top ratings in America?
Yeah, really, once you start getting above standard, where
Which
you
is
talked
the average
about
American.
the average American, average life expectancy, you kind of start splitting hairs. Where you're looking at the 10 pounds could make the difference of 20% in your premium. And so I would encourage you that if you have an existing policy and you're in good health, you may be paying 20% more than you should be based off of something like a 10-pound weight fluctuation, or maybe a point or so on your cholesterol ratio, something very, very minor. You're still healthy, but you're not paying the best rate classes, and we'd love to take a look at that.
Well, we know for a fact that about a half of Americans are in the wrong rate class, and I've noticed that if you can actually get the exam results. If you take an exam to find out if you can save money, as you suggested, Joe, which I love, I think that's great. But Charlie, You could actually get your exam. I could see my HDL, my bad
Yes.
boy cholesterol, right? I could see my height and weight, my urine analysis. I could look at that and really see where I'm coming from.
Most of the carriers now are giving you, instead of years ago they went from, you could request it and then they mailed it. They give you an ID, you can go online, you can print it off yourself these days.
So you have access to your own information, and you can take that information and then, of course, put it into your doctor's file
Yes.
for your own personal medical file. I like that because it's an inducement. It doesn't. How much does it cost to take that exam?
For the client,
Yeah, for the
absolutely
client.
nothing.
Nothing. So if I hear you and say, man, I am all these things you just said. Good diet, watching my food intake. I've been really doing a good job keeping myself in really good shape. I'm going to take this exam. I'll get those exam results. Those exam results are free, and I might be able to save myself. It could be maybe up to even 15, 20% savings.
right.
Yep.
Now, if I go ahead and do that, I have to take the exam. Is there any hints on how do I take the exam? In other words, I've heard there's a lot of voodoo medicine out there. How do I take an exam and prepare for that?
I think a lot of it is fasting. Make sure you're, doing at least an 8-hour fast before you have your blood draw and stuff like that.
Well, that doesn't sound so bad. I thought it was going to be a lot longer than that.
8 hours, some 12, but eight hours is typically long enough to do that. Avoid heavy exercise, heavy physical activity the night before. Don't work out and go right into an exam. Rest. That's about it.
We also encourage doing it first thing in the morning, because that's when you're calm and haven't gotten into the craze of your day yet, and your
Yep.
blood pressure is at its optimal.
Now, I'm an early riser myself, and I try to stay on the East Coast time, so I'm pretty early. I've noticed that these people who come in to do your exam, they can do that at your home, they can do it at your office, they can do it pretty much anywhere convenient. Is that true?
Very, very flexible and very convenient.
And you say earlier the better.
That's
Well, I'm an
correct.
early riser. I'd have them come into my house. Let's do it first thing. I'd like to be there first thing on the docket and get it done with. But they're only drawing blood, urine. I noticed that some of these actually do EKGs in your house.
That's right.
Yeah, actually, a lot of carriers are getting away from the EKG. They've raised the limits on that, but they certainly can do mobile EKGs in your home.
I just think it's stunning that you can do all this in the privacy of your home and get this information sent to you online. If you want more information on how you can save money on life insurance, just email me at steve.savant@ashbrokerage.com, and I'll email you our free questionnaire on life insurance. The questions will take about 13 minutes. Is saving real money worth 13 minutes? I'm sure it is. When we come back from the break, we'll talk about quitting tobacco products and the impact on your health and your wallet in the A segment of our show. We'll be right back after the break.
Take a close look at your hard-earned dollar. How do you think your money's doing? Are you keeping an eye on it? Is it protected from taxes, inflation, and market risk? Over time, those Washingtons could become Franklins. With tax-advantaged indexed universal life from one of the largest distributors of indexed universal life, Ash Brokerage.
Welcome back to the A segment. I'm Steve Savant, and just a heads up, before moving forward with any of the planning ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, and insurance professional. We're walking you through what you need to know about the financial impact of tobacco use. Well, let's talk about this. Charlie, Joe, everybody's trying to quit smoking. I mean, they see it now. We see it. America, hotels are going non-smoke, restaurants are going non-smoke, airlines have gone non-smoke. Everybody's trying to go this way, and it's really for our better health. It really is. But we have people that are trying to make the transition, and they're looking at insurance companies. I mean, you think you're spending money on cigarettes per pack is bad enough. Then you think of the impact it has on medical insurance, long-term care, disability, life insurance. I mean, it really has impact on, now put that price against what your cigarette price is. Now you really have the true price of smoking. But people are moving they're trying to stop smoking, and I've noticed a huge movement in the life insurance underwriting because they seem to be giving a lot more benevolent treatment to consumers who are quitting. So, for example, I'm looking at this, and these are not just standard average American rates. What we're talking about here is pretty good non-smoking rates for a person who just quit 1 year ago.
That's correct. Yeah, we're seeing the insurance companies are being a lot more aggressive with smoking cessation now, to where maybe 5-6 years ago, if you had been smoke-free for 12 months, you're lucky to get a standard issued policy. to where now you're seeing those same individuals get standard plus, even preferred.
Now, these words like standard plus preferred, these are higher health classifications from a price point of view, and the difference between being a smoker and a non-smoker or a preferred non-smoker, this is like 20% savings in your premium.
Definitely.
Right. Well, smoker to non-smoker, you're talking
Huge.
double the cost. And then, yes, going up from standard to standard plus to preferred, 20 to 30%.
So it's
savings.
worth looking at this. If you've ever thought, boy, I really need to quit smoking, we've given you a good health reason. Now we're giving you the economic reason. This is really issue. Now, I noticed, we're just talking about cigarettes, I noticed that insurance carriers are changing their mind on cigars. I mean, I used to think if you had any tobacco in your urine for your exam, you're a smoker.
Not so these days.
I know. Tell me about this. This is really
Well,
a huge evolution.
There's a couple of carriers. Lincoln is one of them. Hancock is one of them. Prue. If you admit to unlimited cigar smokes with a positive Coat-9, they will give you a non-smoker rate.
Now, Positive Coat-9 is the trace of tobacco
Yes,
in
it
your
is.
urine
Yes,
exam.
it is.
Okay. So they'll give you a
Non-smoker.
non-smoker, even though, so if I'm celebrating at the country club, if I'm going to the football game every weekend, I'm tailgating and smoking endless cigars, no problem.
No problem.
See, to me, that's a major change in the industry, Joe. I mean, you've been in this thing 15 years.
Yeah. The key to it is disclosing it up front. If you're upfront about it, you let the carriers know how often you're using. That has a drastic impact on the outcome.
So if I was a little bit slow in my disclosure,
Don't let
and
it
I
get
came
caught.
afterwards, then it's a problem.
That's
It's
a
hard to
problem.
fight it working backwards.
So just admit it. Now, what if I smoke cigarettes, I'm doing cigars, it sounds like this cigar is not a deal killer anymore. But what if I have ancillary tobacco use, like chew, like Nicorette gum, like pipe smoking as an example?
A lot of the carriers are treating the ancillary products the same as they are cigars, to where if you disclose it up front, depending on whether you have a positive specimen or not, if there's nicotine traces in your urine, we can still get those individuals non-smoker rates.
To me, this is a huge issue. I'm looking at a huge orphan list from a certain carrier the other day where the smoking of all the people that were in this batch of orphan policies, I noticed that they were smokers, and these were issued under the last 10 years. I made a quick call to my first batch of people just to say, all I want to know is, I'm Steve, I'm calling, are you still smoking? A third of all our people that we contacted had quit smoking. How big is this for them to go back in there and get this re-looked at?
It's a huge saving for them depending on their age and their medical history now.
So so we want to encourage people, whether you're using cigarette, cigars, pipe, snuff, chew, I mean, think about all the angles. Nicorette gum.
Electronic cigars,
I know.
hookah pipes.
Well, I mean, I forgot about this. This is becoming big. Electronic cigarettes. All these things matter now, and of course, hopefully, we're pulling away from all those things, not going back to them. But you've seen a lot of benevolency. A lot of the carriers have changed their minds on this over the last the last 5 years have been really.
Yeah. 5 to 10. I mean, even
Yeah,
back to 10
10, I
years.
would say
You know,
go
where
back
it's
to 10
it's
years.
no longer a yes or no or smoker or not.
Before we close out the segment, and you don't have to mention their name so much, but you have a carrier that if a person is trying to quit today, they will give them a non-smoking rate today. We're not talking about 1 year. They've quit after a year.
Right.
They're quitting. They're going to try to quit. They got 1 year to quit. They're going to get the non-smoke rate. Talk a little bit about that and the conditions of that carrier and how can a client take advantage of that.
Well, in that case, they can have a positive Coat-9 test, nicotine test right now. At their policy anniversary, they're going to be retested. If their test is positive, then they're going to have
Back to being-
retroactive smoker rates. If they're negative, then they're just keeping those non-tobacco rates going forward.
Okay, so what we're saying is I can save money year one.
Right.
And when I save money, I got 1 year to stop smoking. And if my urine analysis is clean, then I'm a non-smoker. And I think that's a huge incentive. If you want more information on how you can save money on life insurance, just email me at steve.savant@ashbrokers.com, and I'll email you our free quote questionnaire on life insurance. The questions will take about 13 minutes. Is saving real money worth 13 minutes? I'm sure it is. When we come back from the break, we're going to help you match your health condition to the right company in the M segment of our show.
We'll be right back.
Take a close look at your hard-earned dollar. How do you think your money's doing? Are you keeping an eye on it? Is it protected from taxes, inflation, and market risk? Over time, those Washingtons could become Franklins. With tax-advantaged Indexed Universal Life, from one of the largest distributors of Indexed Universal Life, Ash Brokerage.
Well, welcome back to the M segment. I'm Steve Savan, and just a heads up, before moving forward with any of the ideas you hear on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or insurance professional. We're talking about matching your health condition to the right company. In this segment, our M segment, Joe, I want to go to you first. Joseph, when I'm looking at impairments, I'm looking at diseases, I'm looking at conditions, I've noticed that you really think through who are the life insurance companies that you're going to match up to that condition. I'm telling you, that was new to a lot of our consumers and some even of our advisors. That is so strange. You really have certain carriers, certain life insurance underwriting that actually treat the disease better than others. I would have thought the science is the science.
Yeah, correct. We kind of go through an internal funnel approach when we receive a client. And I think everyone tends to think it's just driven off of their health or their medical impairments, but we also look at what they're trying to buy and how they're trying to fund it, whether it's term insurance, permanent insurance, if they have money coming over as a lump sum, however they're trying to structure it, that determines what carriers are in play. So our group has to understand the full picture to be able to funnel down what carriers are truly in play and then engaging them at that point for offers.
Charlie, are there niche life insurance carriers by disease, though? Certain disease, you say, boy, I think they're going to see this case.
You know, we've talked about the current, the major disease, the diabetes, the coronary disease, the sleep apnea. I think most of the players play fairly close in that. Perm, the difference sometimes comes down to whether it's a perm product or it's a term. We might be able to get some more favorable underwriting, of course, on a permanent product. But nobody stands out, tremendously in my mind. Is that's the person to go to in that. It's kind of to touch on what Joe said. It's the whole picture we have to look at. It's not just the impairment. It's where's the plan going to fit. Where's the relationship with sometimes. Sometimes it comes down to who the medical director is there. You have medical directors that are cardiac doctors. That's their field of expertise. I like to go to them sometimes with the cardiac cases because they understand it more. They sometimes are a little bit more lenient. So we know.
Well, I see, this is exactly what I'm going down this road because you know not only the carriers, but the faculty that's staffing in the carriers. And you're going to go to, here's this cardiologist. He has a very wide view of cardiology. And he's going to have a little bit more, I love the word lenient, because you usually don't hear that when you're using an underwriter, that name. So when I think about leniency based on his area of expertise, there seems to be carriers, because I've noticed in one of our shows that we were talking to advisors, Joe, there are certain carriers that say, I don't want to see a diabetic case. They just don't underwrite it.
Right.
But then we have other ones that, depending upon how it's controlled, when did it happen, what am I on diet or am I on insulin, it matters in a niche position.
Yeah, I think that kind of is the flip of your question to Charlie. Was there certain carriers that like certain impairments? There may be some that we need to make sure have a look on a case, depending on their history of how they've treated certain things. But there is a group of carriers that we know don't want certain impairments. That we're certain we're not going to be giving them a look on.
Well,
on
I just
cases.
I'm thinking of one, and I'm not going to say because I don't want to be in trouble with him, but I saw a carrier who doesn't really appreciate diabetes. So when I see people still sending cases to them, I know that they're not going to get the best underwriting decision, and that won't save them money.
Right.
Well, most times no. It depends on the age and the pricing again. So again, we price it out, and even though they might be a table B there, they might be somebody else's standard. So again, you got to focus less sometimes on the actual rating and the pricing,
Now,
and
sometimes
focus more on the pricing.
I've noticed that in underwriting niches, that you brought up a very, very interesting point, because I think the public at large doesn't get this, and I want them to understand this, because consumers should be fully educated so they can make a good financial decision. And when I look at the difference between some carriers, you say, oh, I was rated. But that rating case may still be cheaper than another carrier with the same rating. So it really matters not only on this holistic approach that you guys talk about is really unique because it takes in product. It takes in, is it going to be term life? Is it going to be permanent, a permanent form of life insurance? It's going to take in the ideas of where the funding's coming from. Do I have extra money being given? Am I funding it with more deposit than is necessary? All these things factor in. And when I look at this, what I like about, and brokerage is somewhat mercenary, we're going to look at all these carriers that we have relationships with, and we're going to say, based on the information, this is why it's always good to disclose as much as you can, based on this information, this is the price tag we've come up with. And here's the interesting thing. By doing this, I can say pretty safely across the board, half of America is in the wrong rate class today. So if you have life insurance contract today and you're saying, Steve, I need to save money, I'm always looking, but I need the coverage, the place I would go is look at this again, because most of the carriers most of the clients that we're looking at, the consumers, are really in the wrong rate class and they could benefit. And by the way, I don't know about you, but I like to know what my HDL, I always ask for my exam at the end because I get to see my 24 panels and all my urine analysis and everything, kind of gauge where I'm coming from. So when I'm thinking I'm thinking of carriers, life insurance carriers, that really are specific to some diseases, and having the holistic approach that you come with really will help us always get to the carrier that we think is going to be the best number for the client and save them money.
Absolutely.
If you want more information on how you can save money on life insurance, just email me, steve.savant@ashbrokerage.com, and I'll email you our free quote questionnaire on life insurance. The questions will take about 13 minutes. Is saving real money worth 13 minutes? I'm sure it is. When we come back from the break, we're going to look at the impact of 2 lives on 1 contract in the E segment of our show. We'll be right back.
Take a close look at your hard-earned dollar. How do you think your money's doing? Are you keeping an eye on it? Is it protected from taxes, inflation, and market risk? Over time, those Washingtons could become Franklins. With tax-advantaged Indexed Universal Life, from one of the largest distributors of Indexed Universal Life, Ash Brokerage.
Welcome back to the E segment. I'm Steve Savant, and just a heads up, before moving forward with any of the planning ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, and insurance professional. We're talking about the impact of 2 lives on 1 contract.
Well, I've always been told the old axiom that it's cheaper to 2 people to live cheaper than 1. I don't know, I've been married almost 40 years, so I'm trying to think about, is that true? When I was single, my pockets did jingle, right? So maybe not anymore. I'm talking about, this is a new concept to most consumers. They think about, when they're looking at life insurance or any insurance, they think about, hey, my life, my wife's life, my children's life, my partner in a business life, my agreements that I have with my charities, and my benevolent giving using any kind of the insurance or annuity products. But when I'm looking at this new idea called survivorship, which sounds a little spooky actually, second to die or survivorship, where you can actually put 2 people on 1 life insurance contract, and there's some benefit to that. Joe, I mean, I don't think most of our consumers, it's been around for a long time, it isn't like it's new, but I think most of our consumers don't know that.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think that you touched on a good point where a lot of people have viewed survivorship as pure estate planning coverage. If you can take 2 lives, underwrite them on 1 policy, and we do underwrite them as 1 life, and you're taking a joint equal life expectancy of those 2 individuals and underwriting them together. The use of those types of products for charitable contributions or things like that is absolutely a valid use of that.
Well, when I looked at the last second to die, and I'm using the best possible health conditions, so that should give you an idea. I looked at just putting a single deposit on a female who was 65, non-smoker preferred, and I got about 5-to-1 ratio in my death benefit to my actual deposit. So 5-to-1 seems like a pretty good leverage. The male was less, it was 4-to-1. But when I went to second to die, I was almost at 6-to-1 ratio. So I'm getting a huge discount. So if I have, and I just want to make sure I'm crossing what you said here, I might have charitable intent.
Yep.
And let's say I have a big heart but small wallet. and I go ahead and I just gave a small amount, if I could just do it every month, I could leverage that. I could be giving maybe $300-400 a month away if I was healthy and in good condition myself and let's just say my spouse, and I might be able to be giving a charity 100 to 200 grand that I could never give. My heart's there, I just don't have the economics. But I might have the cash flow in premium to get that job done.
Correct.
So when I look at survivorship, how do they underwrite that? I mean, you say it's two people underwrite. It seems so strange to me. How do they underwrite two people in one contract?
But we're still underwriting the individual life.
Mm-hmm.
So where it helps is where you have an unhealthy or an uninsurable, somebody on an individual basis that would be an outright decline.
Well, wait a minute. You're saying, though, then, that on a second to die or survivorship, one of those people could be completely declined. They would never be able to get
On
insurance
an
by
individual
themselves.
policy, yes.
But on second to die, they'd be okay.
Yes.
That's amazing. How does that work?
Actually, on survivorship product, they price for that uninsurable class. Remember I said that it's a combination of the two,
Mhm.
right? You underwrite the husband, you underwrite the wife, but there is a come together for the
Mhm.
final pricing. So there is a cost associated with the uninsurable, so to speak, risk class. But it's a heck of a lot better than being totally uninsurable and a
Mhm.
decline for individual coverage.
Well, I like to go back into the happier land where everybody's healthy. When I think about charitable giving, like we said, this is a really great leverage for people who have big hearts and small wallets. But I've noticed that if you want to do any legacy planning with your children or grandchildren, this is also another option because everybody thinks it's for the high affluent, high tax bracket issues where you're trying to pay estate taxes with this. But really, children, grandchildren, legacy building, charitable giving, all these things are part of the normal middle America. We're the number one nation in charitable giving to the world. And so we have a heart for this. It's part of our culture. It's part of who we are as Americans. So when I look at this, people say, gee, I'd like to give. I just need to make sure I keep enough money to live on because we're going to be all living longer. Second to die, the survivorship sounds like the way to go. And that I could take, it's amazing. I'm sorry, Charlie, it amazes me. A person could be fully declinable. They couldn't get insurance. But together, they could as a couple or as a business or two business associates. That to me is amazing.
And you're still accomplishing the same goal that you need of the proceeds, whether it be to a child, grandchild, business, charity, is still happening upon the second death anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so to combine them on one policy, then you've accomplished your goal.
Okay, so as long as the need can always be okay because it's the second death. The first death, they wouldn't pay on the claim, but the second death is when it occurs, and then those proceeds would be paid. If it's paid to an individual, I notice that those proceeds are paid generally tax-free. And the reason I bring this up is because when we're looking to try to do something for our children, one of the articles I read just recently said that our next generation following us is not going to do as well as we did. And that's the first time in America that that's happened. This is a way to try to circumvent that and to really give our children and grandchildren and charity of choice, if we have intent, the ability to actually come back and give something as we're passing on to passing it on to the next generation, and it's leveraged. I mean, I talked about healthy people, male, female, on a single deposit. It could be as high as 6 to 1 for every dollar I put in. I'm getting $6 tax-free. To me, that's worth looking at. One last thing about second to die. I noticed it goes all the way up to age 90. Joe, age 90 seems too old.
Yeah. No, there are actually a handful. There are more than one that have the ability of going up to the 85 to 90 range, for sure.
I know the mortality revolution is huge. When we're underwriting people in their 80s and the maturity dates of these contracts are going out to age 120, you know our culture is changing. The graying of America is underway.
Well, that's our show for today. I want to thank Joe Breda and Charlie Kuhn for being my special guests and Money Mentors. And don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or just email me, steve.savant@ashbrokers.com. And don't forget what the good Reverend John Wesley once said, make all you can, save all you can, give all you can. I'm Steve Savant. See you next week.